Principal Secretary, State Department of University Education, Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi, Acting Maseno University Chancellor, Professor Abdullah Naji Said, Chancellors of sister universities, Governor, County Government of Kisumu, Acting Chairman, Maseno University Council, Members of Parliament and County Assembly members here present, members of Maseno University Council, members of Tom Mboya University College, members of sister university councils, Vice Chancellor Maseno University, Professor Nyabundi, Principal Tom Mboya University College, other Vice Chancellors of sister universities. I've seen the Vice Chancellor of Kibabii University here, Deputy Vice Chancellors of Maseno University, members of university management, graduates, parents, guardians, families, friends, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to join you this morning for this important occasion of the 20th graduation ceremony of Maseno University. Ordinarily, this congregation will be attended by thousands of Kenyans, but to adhere to the government policies in order to conform with the COVID protocols, only a few of us are assembled here today. I would like to urge this university to continue with the very strict measures that we put together. As the Vice Chancellor said, I was here several times to ensure that this university was complying with COVID-19 protocols. But I want to start from a perspective. Allow me to veer off just for a minute. Because the university system in Kenya, as we speak, is actually at crossroads. If I start with the faculty, I was appointed 2 years ago. And what I'm going to say again, I have said before. The person who makes a university is the university professor. The professor defines the university. So the first thing the university must do is to ensure that their professors are actually professors. A professor who has not published any papers that are being quoted by others, that is questionable. A professor that has not attracted any funds, any research funds at all from anywhere, always waiting for government to provide funds, that one also is a questionable professor. So if you have a research professor in your university, I am seeing as we move forward that more and more of my colleagues are retiring them when they reach 70. That could be the biggest mistake that you will do to a university. So the professor defines the university. The second one is the faculty, the quality of faculty in the university, which means you have to ask yourself, Professor Nyabundi, as you are doing an excellent job here, who dictates your university? Is it the academic staff or other supporting staff? If you are other supporting staff, you should not even exist. So we start from the point of view of ensuring that the numbers of academic staff are more than the non-academic staff. This is not a negotiable issue. It is not a negotiable instrument. And your academic staff must be selected because of meritocracy alone. Other things follow. If you populate a university with your tribesmen, then that is a village university. It cannot be a university. So you get, even if you don't like the person, but he's the best person, you will take him. So I'm going to ask you in public, and all the same thing goes to other universities. When you consider the ratio of your full professors to the non-academic staff, how does it look? Are you intelligent enough to keep your professors on your payroll if they are still productive? Or are you one who will think because you want to right size, you start with killing the chicken? That is a tragedy of the greatest proportion. And this sometimes is happening because the councils do not understand what a university is. So if you start with a council that does not understand what a university is, well, what advice do you expect them to give you? Secondly, what is the ratio of your academic staff to non-academic staff? The minimum acceptable is 70-30. And I'm saying this, now this is my third year. I didn't know I would survive up to third year, but here I am by the grace of God. Now, where is Maseno? A university is not an employment agency for the local area, where you find that 70% of the staff are non-academic staff, and whatever is going to define your university is not there, is 30%. And I'm not addressing Maseno, I'm addressing all the universities together. So be bold enough to right-size your universities. Do not wait for the likes of IMF to come and do it for you. For those who do not remember, I was the very first Vice-Chancellor to be appointed competitively in this country and given very strict performance targets. And by the grace of God, we were able to right-size the university. We were able to right-size the university without having anybody make noise. Can we engage and right-size the universities? My second point is on research funds. The good government of the Republic of Kenya, headed by His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, has provided reasonably adequate funds for research. But if Maseno must get out of the bubble, I have not heard the Vice Chancellor saying he has trained a crack team of 100 researchers whose job is to write proposals to compete for research funds which are over there, all over the world, Bwana Vice Chancellor. Spend some money. The government is allowing you to spend some money to train some of your top researchers on proposal writing. And go and get the money. It is out there. It's out there. And this also goes to all the other universities. Because this worked at the university when I was there. We moved the research funds from 350 million to 4.5 billion a year when I was there. There was no magic. The eggs you have are the academic staff. If you have good academic staff, students will follow them. You should be bold enough to protect your senior academic staff. That is not to say that if you have become unproductive, even before you retire, you can be retired because you are not productive enough. That's the way it goes. And that also happened at the University of Nairobi when I was there. We retired professors who were not productive, and we kept some. I was telling the Vice Chancellor this morning that when we went to train in Harvard about 2 years ago, the most efficient professor there was 87 years old. He was 87 years. So what is this nonsense of saying, oh, after 70, you become Professor Emeritus, you have no salary, and then you are expected to continue to attract money to come to the university. So I thought this point has to be made very clear to my colleagues in the university system. The issue of government capitation. I'm pausing because it is a very interesting thing. If you have 2 children, you produce 2 children, then your neighbor produces 20, and you are both earning a salary of 100,000. Whose children will be better? One has 2 children, one has 20 children. So we are actually crying foul when we have created the mess ourselves. It is time to right-size even the number of universities. Ask yourselves, why is everybody saying the universities are able to pay tax? What did you expect? They will not be able to pay tax. Can we stop and think about university governance in this country? Because we cannot allow politicians to produce university for political purposes. Unfortunately, we as men of letters, men and women of letters, Professor Nyabundi included, have failed to stand up to the test. Do our universities have adequate faculty? It is becoming more of the same, and it has to stop. Does Maseno want to become more of the same? I have seen some movement in the right direction here. I have seen some movement in the right direction, because when I came here and I saw some developments down there, I said, well, perhaps we are starting to see value for government money. Because we all know what happens in this country. You can say we want more money, but I think we should, as a government, we want to see what you have done with the money that you are given before. Buildings don't run away, isn't it? And the government has said, through the direction of His Excellency the President, that any government project that is 85% complete must be completed. And I'm telling my peers here without blinking that we must make sure, for example, that what we are going to open today, which is not complete, must be completed. Let us complete it so that when the president leaves, he can also leave it as a legacy, that at Maseno, this is what I did. Of course, the chair of council is saying they will come and ask for more. Don't pretend. COVID-19 is here to stay. It's here to stay. So it will be unreasonable for you to ask for more to start projects when we have already said as a government that there will be no new projects for the time being. Let us be fair and reasonable to ourselves. In terms of the medical school that my friend Professor Nyabundi has mentioned, conflict of interest, I come from this area, yes. But when I was the chair of the Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board of Kenya, that did not matter. And it must not matter. Indeed, we were going to shut down the medical school here, because we are not going to bend the rules because this university is nearer my home than any other one. And fortunately, the advice was taken positively, and Maseno University is now graduating excellent doctors. Of course, they poached some of our very good scholars. Is Professor Ogendo here? They poached some of our very good scholars, like Professor Ogendo, who was then the chair of surgery. And I said, okay, that is still Kenya. If you want to go there, you can go. But again, it can be measured. So I want to thank the council of the university for ensuring that the Maseno University management spends money for what it is meant for. And in the same breath, ask them to be patient with the government as we deal with COVID-19 pandemic issues. Maseno University, it has been reassuring that Maseno University has been able to steer through this new normal by applying online and blended learning and examinations. I sincerely congratulate the university fraternity for this. I want to recognize the noble role played by the university management, faculty, parents in the course of the graduates' endeavor to earn their qualifications. And allow me just to say something about the qualifications. We must walk backwards to the river. We are putting so much premium on the certification. we are putting so much premium on the certification. And my charge to the University Council here is to ask, what is the value of the certificate of Maseno University? And the value is measured by the skills that you have been able to impart on the students when they are here. And since I'm a practicing physician, except for now, I think looking at the doctors, I think they have been unskilled reasonably well. I can't speak for the others. The challenge, as His Excellency the President says now, is that universities should produce people who are going to employ themselves and to employ others. So I want to urge the graduates to go into the world to be fully engaged in search of solutions that will help us to live better as a country. I say this with full awareness that the training skills that you have acquired here are up to the best standards. And the best example is, I know perhaps you don't give agriculture, but if you have trained students in agriculture, you give somebody a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture or Horticulture or what have you, and then the student goes to wait for a job for 10 years. Then, Professor Nyabundi, you have failed. Are we together here? For those of us who have been to Israel, we are in heaven in Western Kenya here. We're actually in heaven, most of the country apart from the northern part. So if you have the wherewithal in your brain, why are you waiting for an office where you will put on a tie? Why don't you apply what you are trained to do to create your own livelihood and livelihood for somebody else? I think that is the challenge. So the ivory tower mentality at the universities must really come down. The Big Four agenda, as you are aware, is one of the legacy issues with His Excellency the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, which includes agriculture and food security, universal health care, affordable housing, and industrialization. Everybody in Kenya must eat, at the very worst once a day, at the very best 3 times a day. Why are we not having more students coming to do agriculture? Why? Bwana Vice Chancellor, you have a very big challenge. In order for this university to exist into the tomorrow's years, we really must give courses that will have a ready market. I note that Maseno University has recently achieved phenomenal growth, which I have stated. But this is not to say that you lower your guard, Bwana Vice Chancellor. Should the university be judged by the number of students the university has? I have not said so, even though the VC is very happy that he's getting more students, which means maybe his faculty is getting better. Because students choosing to come to a university on their own is as a result of how fine your faculty is. But don't go to sleep very soundly that you have very many students. You will have to decide at one stage, Professor Nyabundi, that for Maseno University, which faculties do you want to retain? How many students do you want to have? Because even the Harvards of this world, if I was to tell you the numbers of students they have, you will actually be shocked. So the numbers are good, but they must be related to the faculty. Like in medicine, we have insisted that the ratios must be correct. And the Dean of Professor Ogendo, the ratios are correct now. So you can't take more medical students than you can teach. That's what brings the quality of the university to what you want. As a ministry, we are committed to doing all that can provide a resource base to allow all universities to achieve their mandate. And I want to single Maseno University here for praise, because as other universities are grumbling with the tax issues, Professor Nyabundi, you have done well to tell me this morning that you have no pending tax issues. You remit the taxes of your staff to the exchequer. That is what must be done, so that you must learn. You must learn to live within your means. As far as pension schemes are concerned, I would want those universities that still have issues with their pension schemes to downsize their contribution so that they are able to manage the debt, even if it is for a temporary period of time. COVID-19 is here. Many people have become jobless. Our tax base has reduced. As you argue and even come for the money from the government, remember that you cannot spend what is not there. Because what I'm saying is it looks like just more of the same. It would be unwise for a government institution to start something from the scratch. None other than His Excellency the President has directed that there should be no new projects for now, unless and until he himself, under his signature, allows that to happen. So, when acting chairman of council, you should be aware that you don't waste your good time helping Nyabundi to run the university. Don't waste your good time coming to look for money which will not come. So for now, I think you should complete what you are doing. Don't look for more projects until COVID goes away, and it will take a bit of time. We want to continue witnessing improvement in facilities, and I would also like to mention Dedan Kimathi, University of Science and Technology, which is also led by another excellent Vice Chancellor, Professor Kioni. I'm mentioning that because in terms of right-sizing must start from the top in terms of management. I led the University of Nairobi for 5 years with 2 deputy vice-chancellors. And as I was battling the students' menace, we decided, now when we look back, perhaps it was erroneous, that we required a DVC whose job was just to deal with students. Because I was spending 50% of my time dealing with students. The students are now better. With technology, they are now better. Do we still need a DVC student affairs? My opinion is we don't. So if you have a DVC student affairs, you can put it under DVC academic. And you would have right-sized one whole DVC plus the staff that are going with it. Administration and finance. If you can't pay taxes, why don't you want one deputy vice chancellor to take charge of administration and finance? Does it make sense, ladies and gentlemen? I am mentioning this because it will be a shame if the IMF makes this demand and it is done because of IMF, yet your own son has been talking about it for more than 2 years. So, I know you are not happy the way I'm talking, but these are the facts, and they must be said. In terms of right-sizing staff, if I was to give an opinion before I sit down, first of all, most of the low-cadre staff, like in my office as a minister, I make my own tea. I don't need a messenger. I don't need a tea person. I make my own tea. Are we together? And when you employ these ones, usually employ them on contract. So you determine the contracts humanely. There's a do-it-yourself phenomenon across all the universities in the world. Nyabundi, you have traveled. What is your opinion? Or is it that the local politics will not allow you? You have a university to run, and it's not for local politics, it is a national university. So I would suggest that you do what I did when I was at the University of Nairobi at that time. I collapsed departments. This has been done before. Am I still alive or dead? I collapsed departments, right-sized, removed some departments, created schools, and I was able to save money. Why now? What is the problem now that you don't want to move? Is it that we are allowing too much politics into universities? I just want to end this by saying that in the name of God, when you are looking for a leader within the universities, from the top right through to the faculty, right through even to the subordinate staff, a good example is here. Look for meritocracy alone first. For example, if you want to cook chicken, and there's somebody from Vihiga here who is an expert in cooking chicken, you don't say, no, we must take from Maseno, because you will not cook the chicken as well as that other guy. That is what we must do. As long as you also don't forget the locals, do not forget that meritocracy comes first. Don't insist that the vice chancellor must come from your village or from your vicinity. I think that is not a university. That is not to say if there is a vice chancellor who fits, who comes from the area, he should not be appointed. We are men of letters. Let us not descend to the political level, because that's where we are going. And it doesn't matter. A man of letters like me, I live for today. Tomorrow, Christ knows. It doesn't matter. You just do the right thing. And then maybe, and just maybe, Professor Nyabundi, your university will survive. But keep on the same track. And I think I'm glad that I have seen what you have done. I hope we are going to open one of them. And I've given my word, the PS is here. We shall provide money for you to complete that project that is 85%. Hiyo ingine, don't clap, ngoja kidogo. Hiyo ingine, usilete kelele mingi. Hiyo ingine utangoja vile tutaangalia baadaye. Because we carry orders from His Excellency the President. Are we together? Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.